Welcome to Azure Services Deep Dive from Data Analytics Actuary. Each episode, we break down one Azure service completely, what it does, what problems it actually solves, and how it connects to everything else. Today, we're finishing the storage category with Azure Table Storage. Before we zoom in, let's set the context. Microsoft Azure runs on more than 200 services across 60-plus regions worldwide. What makes Azure powerful isn't any single service. It's how everything connects. Compute talks to storage, networking integrates with security, and analytics layers over everything. For data professionals and actuaries, Azure is the operational backbone that turns your models and insights into production-grade systems, ones that scale, stay available, and comply with regulatory requirements. Today's service lives in Azure's storage category, the layer that holds your data at rest. Within storage, you have object storage, file shares, message queues, key-value tables, and managed disks. Table storage is the NoSQL key-value option. It stores billions of semi-structured entities with flexible schemas and sub-millisecond point reads. It's the cheapest way to store structured data on Azure. Azure Table Storage, a NoSQL key-value store for semi-structured data at massive scale. Each table holds billions of entities with flexible schemas. Every entity is uniquely identified by a partition key and a row key, and lookups by those keys are sub-millisecond. There are no fixed columns, no schema migrations, and no database engine to provision. You pay for storage and operations and nothing else. Let's go deeper. Table storage uses a partition key plus row key design. The partition key determines data distribution across storage nodes, all entities with the same partition key live on the same node, enabling batch operations and fast-range queries within a partition. The row key uniquely identifies an entity within its partition. Together, they form a composite primary key that gives you O of 1 point reads. Each entity can have up to 255 properties, and each property can be a different type: strings, integers, doubles, booleans, dates, binary, or GUIDs. No two entities need to have the same properties. Batch transactions support up to 100 entities within the same partition, all committed atomically. And if you outgrow table storage, Azure Cosmos DB offers a wire-compatible table API with global distribution and higher SLAs. Now, the critical problems table storage actually solves, because this is where it gets practical. Problem 1. IoT telemetry at scale. Millions of sensor readings per day need cheap, fast storage. Table storage with device ID as partition key handles billions of rows at pennies per gigabyte. Sub-millisecond reads by device. Problem 2. Configuration store. Microservices need a shared configuration store without provisioning a full database. Table storage holds feature flags and config as key-value entities. No database license. Instant reads. Problem 3. User session metadata. A web application needs fast session lookups without provisioning a cache. Table storage with user ID as partition key provides sub-millisecond point reads. Database-free session management at scale. Problem 4. Cosmos DB migration path. Your workload is outgrowing table storage and needs global distribution. Cosmos DB's table API is wire-compatible. Just swap the connection string. Zero code changes for global reach when you need it. Table storage integrates with key Azure services. Azure Functions provides input and output bindings for serverless table operations, read and write entities without managing connections. Azure Cosmos DB Table API gives you a seamless migration path when you need global distribution, higher throughput, or stronger SLAs. Azure Data Factory's copy activity reads and writes table storage as both a source and a sink for ETL pipelines. Power BI connects to table data for ad hoc analytics and executive dashboards. Azure Logic apps provide no-code workflows that read, insert, and update table entities. And Azure Storage Explorer gives you a desktop GUI for browsing, querying, and editing entities during development. Now, the honest trade-offs. There are no secondary indexes. Any query that doesn't use the partition key and row key performs a full table scan, which can be very slow on large tables. Entity size is limited to 1 megabyte and each entity can have at most 255 properties. There are no server-side joins, aggregations, or complex query capabilities. All that logic stays in your client code. Batch operations are limited to 100 entities and all must be within the same partition. And there's no change feed or real-time notification. If you need to react to changes, you have to poll. To recap, Azure Table Storage is the right choice when you need billions of key-value entities at a fraction of database cost, with flexible schemas and sub-millisecond point reads. For data and actuarial teams, table storage is ideal for metadata catalogs, configuration stores, telemetry, and lookup tables that don't need relational joins or complex queries. The trade-off is query power. You get speed and cost, but limited analytics capability. That wraps up the Azure storage category. We've covered blob storage, data lake Gen 2, Azure Files, queue storage, and table storage. If you found this series useful, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. There are many more Azure services to cover. Next up, we'll be diving into Azure Database Services, starting with Azure SQL Database. I'll see you in the next one.